From the ashes of divorce, you can come back stronger than ever. This is Divorce to Victory with Kevin Ray Ward. Your new life starts now. Hey there, this is Kevin Ray Ward. Welcome to this special episode of the Divorce to Victory podcast. In this video today, I want to talk about how to take control of your life. Because my friend, you have to take control of your life because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to come save you. Nobody's going to make your life better. And so we're just going to have kind of a straightforward conversation today about that. I'm going to talk about my own journey, my own story, talk about things that have happened to me and the things that I learned that opened my eyes to a way to take control of my life that has changed everything for me. Because my brother, you were born to be a king, but the problem is you've been living like a peasant. Why you been living like a peasant? Because you were raised to be a peasant. Okay, like 95% of men in America, we were raised to be peasants, bowing the knee to the expectations of others, to the demands of others, to trying to make everybody happy, to being a people pleaser. But that's not what you were meant for. Okay, you were created in God's image to be the ruler over your own life. And in this video, we're going to talk about that. You were built, you were created, you were designed by God to lead. You were designed by God to create. You were designed by God to build. And the question is, when are you going to wake up and stop living like a peasant? Now, I'm going to use this frame of being a peasant or versus being a king. See, here's the difference. Peasants follow orders. Peasants do what they're supposed to do. Peasants do what they are told to do. Peasants' happiness, their well-being is determined by how well they do what other people tell them to do, how well they follow orders. Kings take a different path. Kings are driven by different way of operating using three skills that I'm going to talk about on today's podcast. I'm going to talk about three skills that are required for you to rise up, take control of your life, and start operating like the king in your life. Because this is stuff they never taught us in school. They never taught this in church. And in our homes growing up, we weren't taught this. What does it mean to be a king rather than a peasant in your life? Because everything in your life, my brother, is driven by these three skills. Okay, everything. Okay, in your business, your finances, your health, your personal fulfillment in your life, and your relationships, your bank account. Everything is driven by the decisions that you make or don't make, by the actions that you take or don't take, whether they're the actions of a king or the actions of a peasant. Your relationships, your marriage. I want you just to ask yourself where you are right now. Your sex life, is it glorious in your marriage? Is your sex life glorious? Or if you're in a divorce, was it glorious or was it mostly jacking off to porn? And all of that is driven by these three critical skills or your lack of those skills. So before I actually get into the three skills today, let me just tell you a little bit about my journey and what happened to me that put me into the pit over and over and over again, but eventually led me to waking up and realizing that it was the way I was showing up in my life that was keeping me in this cycle of build and burn, things would go good, and then I would burn it to the ground. It's like, how is this happening to me? And let me just kind of put it this way. It goes all the way back to my first marriage. I was in college. And honestly, my first marriage was a decision to get married for sex. Because in my world, growing up in the church, that was what you had to do. You had to get married so you could have sex. So I got married to have sex. Bad reason to get married. And the sex was horrible. And so for the next 15 years, I was stuck in a marriage that I probably should never have gotten in the first place. Because I was so captive to the expectations and demands of other people, the expectations and demands of my wife, of the church, of the limiting beliefs of this is the way it's supposed to be. And it's like, as long as you're married, you can have sex, but it doesn't mean you have to have a great marriage. You just have to be there. And I settled for that. And the way I was raised is like, you know what, your most important responsibility is to make your wife happy. Happy wife, happy life. Only problem was that's bullshit. That is not your job as a man to just do everything you can to make your wife happy. I thought if I was a nice enough guy that everything would work out. Didn't work out. And so I was stuck trying to please everybody until I made another decision. And that decision was I decided to have an affair. That's right. I made the decision to cheat with a lady that, well, let's just put it this way. Now the sex was great. Now I had a hot girl that wanted me all the time. The only problem was that she was a liar and she was toxic. But here I was, I didn't want to be alone. I wanted sex again. And so I ended up marrying her and I stayed stuck there for another 10 years. Even though she cheated on me multiple times, she lied to me. I was stuck in the bondage of trying to make her happy, make everybody else happy, look good, bowing to a woman who lied to me and cheated on me. And of course she lied to me and cheated on me. I was a liar and a cheater too. That's how I ended my first marriage. So you know how that story ends. It was divorce number 2. Well, I'm not done. So as soon as I started going through that divorce, I found a rebound relationship, and that became my 3rd marriage. This time I married a lady, and for the next 10 years, I put my balls in a purse and handed them to my wife. And just like a peasant, I let her control my life. It was all about trying to make her happy. I'm just trying to make her happy, just trying to, please her, and bow the knee to her demands. I was so attached to having a woman validate me, to prove that I was worthy, to prove that I was a man. And it wasn't her fault. It was me. I was stuck in this place of bowing the knee to make other people happy. And I looked good, my business was going well, but then the reality was inside of me, I was still stuck in a pit. So now here I am in my 50s. I screwed it up in my 30s, I screwed it up in my 40s, and now I'm in my 50s, and I am stuck. I'm stuck in a marriage that was void of respect, that was void of trust and affection, trying to keep her happy and please her. And we would go, literally, we'd get into a disagreement or a fight, and for days, she would not even speak to me. Weeks without any affection, months with no sex. And here I was trying just to keep her happy. We tried therapy, tried couples therapy, tried individual therapy, but nothing changed. Why? Because inside of me, and the way I was showing up every day, and the way I was behaving in life was still as a peasant, trying to please her, putting my needs in the closet, trying to be the nice guy. And I couldn't see this. In 30 years of marriage to 3 different women, I never saw that the problem was I was being a peasant rather than being the leader that God designed me to be in the home. The leader God designed me to be in life. Make everybody else happy, right? Happy wife, happy life, be the nice guy. Until finally, one day I woke up. And I woke up because I had a mentor who was willing to put in my face over and over again my unwillingness to stand up and lead in my own life. And because I had this mentor who was willing to hold space for me, and he would just he would talk to me and he would just what do you know you need to do? What do you know you need to do? And it was not like, go get a divorce. It was like, you got to stand up and lead. And because he was willing to hold that space for me, it allowed me and put me in a place where I was willing to start making some powerful decisions, which ultimately made the decision to get divorced for a 3rd time. And it was not what I wanted to do. It was not what I wanted. I did not want this marriage to fail. But in the end, I was in a dead marriage with a woman who had no interest in healing it or willingness to change. And so that's where I was. So if you're connecting with this, have you been here? If you're watching this on YouTube or whatever, you can just type in the comments, what's happened to you? Because I knew that what I was doing wasn't working. And I was trying to be the good guy. And this is the problem, is we're not trying to be bad men. We're not trying to mess it up. We're not trying to be unfaithful or, we're not trying to do any of that. But if you're sitting here watching this and you're stuck in a marriage where you're tiptoeing around your wife on eggshells, not wanting to upset her, and you're not getting what you need, you're not getting respect, you're not getting sexual fulfillment or intimacy or affection, there's no emotional connection, you feel isolated and you feel empty, my brother, when are you going to wake up? You got to do something about it. Now, because this is what I felt like. This is where I was stuck. Now, you might think that if being a peasant in your marriage, bowing the knee, not leading, that if that's happening in your marriage, it only affects your marriage. But the reality is it shows up in all the areas of your life. It shows up in your business. It shows up in your relationships. It shows up in the community. It shows up in your health. It shows up certainly in your bank account. Are you bowing the knee to your own emotions? Or are you controlling your emotions? Because it shows up, if you're sitting there watching this and you got a dad bod, it's because you've allowed your emotions, your desire for food and desire for ease and comfort to keep you from actually moving forward. Showing up in your finances, showing up in your business. If you're living in scarcity, it's because you're bowing the knee. Bowing the knee to your fears, bowing the knee to your boss. What are you bowing the knee to? Bowing the knee to the demands of others? And because of that, you're suffering like a peasant rather than prospering like a king. And so what I realized had happened to me was I was abdicating my responsibility. I'd been abdicating my responsibility as a man, as a husband, as a leader, and I just abdicated it to other people. And I'm like, okay, I'll do my stuff, but I was expecting, for example, my wife to make ends meet and take care of her finances. Now, I worked, I made the money, but I was allowing that to happen. Or maybe you're allowing scarcity to run your life and you're living month to month. And rather than building an empire of abundance, you're stuck in this place of building somebody else's empire or in a career that is what I call the peasant trap. There's lack of personal fulfillment. There's lack of the abundance that you want to create in your life. And so you're bowing the knee to scarcity or the demands of others, and you're suffering like a peasant. And so let's talk about, how do you break free from this? How do you take control of your life? And these are the three critical skills that you must master as a king. You have to learn them and you have to master. And the first skill is to make a decision to take control of your life. That's right. Skill number one of being a king and taking control of your life is the power of decisions. You have to learn to make decisions. And here I was lying to myself, acting like I was leading, when in reality I was making weak decisions, just like I'd done in my marriage. I was doing that in my business. I was doing that in my personal life. And so here I was, lost, trapped, afraid. I felt alienated. I felt alienated from my kids. I felt alienated from my wife. I felt alienated from my dreams. I felt alienated from myself. And then I wasn't, because I woke up. And I finally woke up to the reality that I had been lying to myself. I woke up to the reality that I'd been making weak decisions, and the only way for me to start winning was start making some powerful decisions. The decisions to stand up and lead, to be true to myself. What needs do you have that you're just suppressing? If there's an emptiness inside of you, you can call it midlife crisis, you can call it whatever you want, but the reality is, if it's there, you're the only one that can fix it. You're the only one that can do something about it. And so here I was stuck, and then finally avoiding the decisions that I needed to make, and avoiding the decisions that you're avoiding right now. Kings know the secret of making powerful decisions. Now, how do you make powerful decisions? Here's how you make them. Look at your life, look at anything in your life, any situation, any circumstances, and go like, is this what I want? Is this the way it's supposed to be? If it's not, what am I to do? Make a decision. To do what? Fix it, solve the problem, build something, do something, change something, go a different direction, adjust, adapt. You have to make a decision, and you have to make it from a position of, I am the king. I am not the pawn. I am not the peasant. See, we all make decisions. Right? You're making decisions right now, and those decisions drive everything in your life. Your ability to make them or your inability to make them. Your life is a consequence of the decisions that you make. And so if you're looking at your life right now, all areas of your life, if you're looking at your emotions, your feelings, how do you feel on a daily basis? Do you feel great about your life? Are you fired up and excited, or do you feel like you're stuck? Do you feel in a funk? Do you find days where you're just like, what's the purpose of all this? And you're just grinding and you're not really loving and enjoying your life? It's a consequence. If your marriage is not on fire and passionate and full of connection and intimacy and conversation and communication, if that and companionship, if it's not there, it's a result of the decisions that you've made to allow that to happen. And even in not making a decision, you're making a decision. So this is the first skill, is one, you have to take control of your actions, and you start deciding. Stop letting somebody else decide. Well, if I do that, people are going to be upset. If I do that, somebody's going to be mad. If I do that, they're not going to like me. Stop making your decisions based on them. Make the decisions based on what is right for you. Be true to yourself. If it's not going to take your life the direction you want it to go, then make a different decision, which leads to skill number 2. And skill number 2 is leadership. Leadership. Kings have to learn the skill of leading, not following. Again, peasants follow. And this is about stepping up and taking charge of your life. You take control of it, and refusing to bow the knee to the expectations or approval of other people where you are following, and instead start leading instead of following. See, here's what's happened to us, mostly as men in our culture over the last couple of generations, is we've been conditioned to bow the knee. We were conditioned from childhood. We're conditioned. When you start school, when you started preschool, when you started elementary school, what were you being conditioned to do? You were being conditioned to stay in a box, to stay confined in a box of following orders, of being a peasant. Sit down, shut up, do what you're told. Start in kindergarten. Start in preschool, maybe for some of you. Sit down, shut up, do what you're told. The box, your school desk, that was your box. And you had to conform and do and be like everybody else and do what everybody else and do what was expected of you. And you were trained not how to lead, you were trained how to follow orders. You were trained how to do what you told, and everything in you, your success and everything, depended on the approval of other people, depended on the approval of your teacher. The grade that you got was based on their approval. It wasn't based on the fruit on your tree of what you actually were doing or accomplishing. It was based on their approving what you did. That's the box. Then we graduate from school and we get upgraded to a different box, from the desk to our cubicle. Maybe it's an office, but it's still a box. And the box still operates the same. Sit down, shut up, do what you're told. And if you do it well and you sit down, shut up, and do what you're told well, then we'll reward you for it and we'll approve of you and you'll get a paycheck and all of that kind of stuff. Even in our marriage, we were put in a box. And that box was be a good guy. Be noble. Be the nice guy. Keep your wife happy, happy wife, happy life. That's the box that we're put into. Instead of a box that says your job is to lead. Your job is to provide and to protect for your family as a man that can then demand the respect and trust and admiration and affection of your wife. Because it's not up to her to do that. It's up to you to do that. But you don't do it by directly trying to make her happy. You do it by leading. This is the way God designed you. It's the way He designed her. Is women love to be in a relationship with somebody who will actually lead in a healthy, powerful way. I'm not talking about being a dictator. I'm not talking about being a dick. I'm talking about leading in a way that you provide and protect and take care of your family in a way that requires. It's not demanded. It's just they can't help but respect you, because a woman, people in general, respect a man who takes control of his life and does something powerful with his life, does something powerful in his relationships, and your ability to take care of your wife and do what's best for her and lead her will give not only you fulfillment, it gives her great fulfillment. But we've been conditioned to bow the knee. It's always easier to bow the knee. So I want you to just, right now, as you're listening to this, I want you to just think, where are you bowing the knee? Where are you abdicating instead of leading, you're following? And you, again, walk around the house like tiptoeing on eggshells. I don't want to upset my wife. Oh, I don't want to confront her. Oh, I don't want her to get on to me. And you are bowing the knee to her expectations. You're following her orders rather than leading. So if you want to develop the skill of leadership, here's the first step. You got to lead yourself. Stop letting other people's approval, other people's expectations tell you what to do and demand that you follow it. You start leading. You start leading in your own life, and be willing to make a decision for you. And then once you learn how to lead yourself, how to lead your emotions, how to lead your actions, how to lead your habits, how to lead in your relationships, then you're going to start being able to lead other people in your family, in your business, in your community, and beyond. But we've been taught to be followers, not leaders. So now it's time for you to look at it and go like, where do I need to go? Not because somebody else wants me to do it or because somebody else expects it or because it'll make other people happy. It's because this is what God's called me to do. This is my purpose. This is my path. And you take control of it and start leading. Lead your own life first. Lead in the decisions that you make, and then others will follow. And then the third key skill of taking control of your life, of being the king rather than the peasant, is creation. That's right, creation. What does that mean? It means creating something valuable and powerful in your life, creating a life of abundance. Guess what? Nobody's going to do that for you. And when most men go through life just doing stuff instead of building stuff. See, kings build empires. Peasants follow orders and build somebody else's kingdom. See, there is this version of you from the way God created you. There's a version of you who is a king, who is a creator, who creates opportunity, who solves problem and creates and builds a life of abundance. The life that you were called to build. So I want you to think about it this way. You're like, this talk of being a creator and a leader and all this, like, where does that come from? Well, it comes from God. It comes from creation. Because Scripture says, how did God make us? He said God made us in His image. Well, what does that mean? Well, God in His very nature, not only is He a spiritual being, which we are, but God is also a leader. He is a king. And God made us in His image. Guess what else God is? He's a creator. He made us in His image. So what does that mean about us? We must be creators. When you go back, and you can go back all the way to the very beginning, to creation, in the first part of Genesis, and what does it say? That God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion. Okay, let's break that down. Be fruitful and multiply. That means create. Now, part of that is co-creating to bring new human life into the world, having children. But the other piece of that is be fruitful. Okay, make your life count for something. Do something fruitful with your life. And what's interesting, if you go back into Genesis, and I didn't even think about this, but I want to just share with you the scripture. It is amazing to me that it's actually documented in scripture as man spread across the earth. It starts describing in Genesis chapter 4, it starts talking about Cain and Abel and their offspring and their children and all this kind of stuff. And then it starts talking about some of the guys that were born and what they did. It says, Ada bore Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. Oh, he started ranching. He created the ranching industry. This is all the way back early in creation. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the lyre and the pipe. He created music. He created musical instruments. He was a creator. Zillah bore Tubal-Cain. He was the forger of all instruments of bronze and iron. He was a creator. And it goes on and on. It talks about more, but you get the point. That God created us to be creators, to be innovators, to do stuff, to build stuff. So the question is, isn't it time for you to start taking ownership of your life and of your destiny rather than living in reaction and showing up at the mercy of circumstances or the demands of others? And this is the path, my friend. Start taking control of your life. Because you know right now there are decisions that you are not making. There are decisions you're not making in your marriage that you need to be making. There are decisions you're not making, actions you're not taking in your business that you know you need to be taking. You may be stuck in a career that's going nowhere. Well, it's time for you to start making some decisions, start taking some action, start leading your life and creating the future that you want for yourself. But because you haven't been doing that like I was, you found yourself incarcerated. You are captive, deeply incarcerated because of your unwillingness to take control of your life. To take decisive action. And because you don't take decisive action and because you don't lead, all of that just strips away your confidence, it strips away your faith, it strips away your power. And so what do? We settle. We sedate. My brother, stop settling and stop sedating with Netflix or video games or porn or booze or whatever. Stop it. Stop sedating and start looking at your life, and because you're stuck right now like a beggar, showing up, hoping that maybe if I pray that God's going to save me. My friend, God's not going to do anything for you when you're not willing to step up and live into the image He created you to be a leader, to have dominion. That's what He created you to do. Scripture says God is the King of kings. It doesn't say He's the King of peasants. He's the King of kings. Who are the kings? You. You don't need a title. You don't need to be called a king to be the leader of your life, to be the leader in your family, to be the leader. But the decisions that you have to make as a man to step up and take your responsibility, to take it on as your duty, to be the leader. And because you haven't, because I didn't, is I created for myself this prison until I finally started making some decisions to take control of my own destiny, and everything changed in my life. I started making decisions to pivot in my business, to change everything, and having to face the reality that here I was stuck in another marriage, that as much as I tried to be a good guy, I tried to be a good husband, and I was what I wanted. I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know that what she needed was a man who would stand up and make the decisions and lead. And is trying to make her happy and always bow the knee to her. What it does, it destroys a woman's ability to trust you. Because she thinks he needs me to validate him. That's not a man. And they don't know. Our wives, the women do not understand, most of them do not understand what's happening. They don't understand why they can't respect you. They want to respect you. They want to love you. They want to admire you. They want you. But when you're showing up a peasant, look, a queen, I'm going to say this something that's really, really blunt. A queen does not want to be fucked by a peasant. She wants a king. You understand what I'm saying? I know this is some brutal and hard truth, but when I started doing this, I got to change everything. I made pivots in my business. And as I went through my third divorce, I literally bought a fifth wheel camper, a fifth wheel trailer, 40-foot fifth wheel, which is a big recreational vehicle, big RV, hooked it up to my truck, and I went and moved into the mountains. I lived in the mountains for nearly a year. Why did I do that? Because I knew I needed to figure out my shit. I needed to figure out what God's calling meant to my life. I needed to figure out how to be true to myself and choose me, not try to choose to make everybody else happy, but choose what gives me fulfillment? What is God's purpose and calling for my life? I'm going to be true to myself and I'm going to choose me. And here's what I discovered. When you do that and you start choosing yourself and you're true to yourself, it opens up the possibility and the ability for you to truly serve and love and give for other people. Because now you're coming from a place of fullness and power as a leader, as a king, that allows you to make decisions that benefit the people around you, but you're making them for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. You're not making them trying to make everybody else happy. You're making them because it's the right decision to make your life better and to make everybody else's life better. And I redid my whole life. And I haven't figured everything out, but I figured out this path of taking control of your life. And stop waiting around for somebody else to do it. They're not going to do it. God's not going to do it without you, when you won't stand up and make a decision. You're not going to find it in a men's prayer group where it sounds all great and it's all happy clappy, but they're not really equipped or willing to tell the truth about what's not working in their life and where they're stuck and how to lead. And I looked at my life and I'm like, I'm not going to spend another 20 or 30 years settling and suppressing and being stuck instead of living the life I'm called to live. And so I started making these decisions and taking these steps and first leading myself, that ultimately liberated me. It liberated me from the patterns and the limiting beliefs that did not work to build a life of abundance and fulfillment. From bowing the knee to trying to make everybody else happy, to realizing that I had to choose to make myself happy and make God happy by being true to myself. This is not about narcissism. This is not about being selfish. It's about taking care of yourself first. Just like you hear on an airline. If you're on an airline, they say, in case of emergency, what do you need to do? Put the mask on yourself first, and then you can help other people. But if the king dies, if the king is collapsing, if the king is broken, who can he take care of? And once I started making these shifts, I started looking around, and I'm going like, I'm not the only one. And this is why I created what I created with the Vortex Kings, working with men of faith who are going through or have gone through divorce with Divorce to Victory. And so you can click on the link in this video, down below this video in the description, and you can set up a conversation with me. I created an event called King's Quest. That is 4 days, will absolutely transform your life. And I'm going to put the link in the description here. Or you can simply go to kingsquest.vortexkings.com. Go to kingsquest.vortexkings.com and schedule a call with me. We'll get on the phone. It's free, no obligation. We'll talk about your life. We'll talk about where you're stuck. We'll talk about what's not working. We'll talk about how and where you're living like a peasant and how to turn that around and turn into a king. Whether you decide to work with me or not, or attend the event or not, that's totally irrelevant. But what matters is that you make the decision to start taking control of your life today. I chose a different path. I chose a path of becoming a king in my life, and it's changed everything for me. And for the men that it's right for to come train with me at King's Quest, you'll actually get to come and spend 4 days with me in the mountains of Utah and in my home, talking about how to become and learning how to become the king that God created you to be. But whatever you do, choose right now that you're going to stop bowing the knee to the expectations and demands of others, and you're going to take control of your life by making powerful decisions, by leading your own life first and then leading others, and by doing the things to create and build the life that you've always wanted.